All right. There we go. Now, my name is Anthony Barocas, and I am the chief gearhead here at StreamTek, and I thank all of you for being here today. And if you haven't already noticed, today's show is quite a bit different than our normal show. Graphics look different, timer looks different. The way it ended and switched was very different. It's a little bit more clumsy. And that's because today's show is being run completely on the YoloBox Ultra. And I'm going to put this up there. So if you are interested in the Ultra and the usability of the remote guest feature, I've worked with YOLO, and I'm just going to put this up here. We've got a QR code to get the YOLO or the Extreme at a discount right here. So if you want to do that, that's going to put that out here. First and foremost, they're sort of co-sponsoring, or, you know, I've got an affiliate link here. So feel free to try this out if you are interested in an Ultra or an Extreme or Pro, I guess anything, the new cameras and stuff like that. Try them out here, get them through this link, and that would help this channel out a lot. I'm going to take that out. And just for the sake of showing you two side by side, this is the whole show today. I'm not using Restream. I'm not using the Magewell Director. I am kind of using still, if you've seen my other shows, I've got the ATEM Mini Extreme over here. So that's going to switch what's in this box over here. And also, if you were looking overhead like that, I could do this. I am using the audio mixer in the YoloBox, so I don't have the EQ that normally goes through the ATEM as well. So this is all straight through here, which is also why there was a bit of a delay to start, because I had to manually turn my microphone on. It doesn't, the Ultra and the Extreme actually did not carry forward what I thought was a feature of the Pro, which is if you were using a countdown title in the Pro, the cool thing is the countdown title in the Pro automatically mutes all the other audio, which I thought was really cool. So when the countdown is done, there's your audio. In this one, all the channels in the audio mixer are active, so that I have to have my microphone manually turned off. And then when the countdown ends, then I have to manually I have to switch screens and manually turn my microphone on. And I have to switch screens because I was on the comments screen. All the comments are also being handled through the YoloBox Ultra. And the reason I chose the Ultra for today's show is because today's show is about remote guests. And with the Ultra, the remote guest feature is finally usable on a YoloBox. It's been available on the Pro and the Mini for years, actually. And it is a really cool feature, but the Pro and the Mini do not have the audio mixer capability that the Ultra and the Extreme do. And the audio mixer capability in the Ultra and the Extreme, which is why I have that special. Wait, I have that right here. No, not that one. Which is why I have the special on the Ultra and Extreme. I will actually, let me go back to that other one here. If you are interested in being a guest on today's show, that's why I'm doing it on the Ultra itself, is to actually demo the whole process of doing a remote guest on the Ultra. And the key feature that it enables is, wait, I can actually bring this up directly, I think, right there, is I can, see that little headphone icon? Actually, let me go back to the overhead. The little headphone icon right here is what I'm listening to in the headphones. The problem with the Pro and the Mini is that it basically, you've got two different mixers. You mix what you hear, and you're also mixing what's going to program. And what you want to do is you want to be able to hear what's going on in the show without hearing yourself, which means I can hear the playback, I can hear the countdown, I can hear any music, I can hear any videos, and I can hear any remote guests, but not hear myself with the echo, which makes it very usable. Now, I did do a video on the workaround for if you wanted to have remote guests on the Pro or the Mini. It can be done, but you need to basically make your main camera that you're talking to and listening to be one of the remote guests, not a camera that's coming into the YoloBox via HDMI. So that's the caveat, is that with the Pro and the Mini, you need to make yourself a remote guest into your own remote guest show in order to not hear yourself, because Mix Minus is part of being a remote guest. So look at that. We've got DJ Unusual already lined up. I see you there. You're going to have to rotate your camera horizontal. And I thank you for joining me. You may have to exit and then refresh the browser once you've made it horizontal so that the phone or the device you're using knows to make it horizontal. Or I'll forcefully make it horizontal here in the show. But that's what I wanted to show with today's episode, is that, let's go side by side, and I've got this invite guests. It's a feature that's built into the YoloBoxes for a couple of years now, where you do not need a computer. You do not, basically YOLO is giving you the cloud connection as part of owning a YoloBox. So this is included in the Pro, the Mini, the Ultra, and the Extreme, this invite guest feature. Now, there's two tabs here that I've turned on already. You can see I've got DJ Unusual lined up here, and I've allowed them to join. If you don't have that checked, they'll get like an error message when they try to join. So you have to manually check that. And then I've also muted the guest's audio by default. So we didn't automatically start hearing him because he's not in the show yet. See how that works? And then I can go to the audio mixer, and you can see DJ Unusual is here, and I can say audio follows video. So when he's on, then we'll hear his audio. And that's how we're going to do that in this show. That's this background information. That's what you need to do. Two other things. You can also invite guests up here by this line, and it comes up with a screen that shows you that you could just type in somebody's email and send a link to yourself. Now, if you type in a guest's email, you're going to send a link directly to them, and there's some verbiage in there. I actually sent a link to myself, which is how I was able to create the QR code for the link. It's a whole process. You should not necessarily YOLO related, but when you send a link to yourself, then you can create a custom email and on all that stuff. So I'm not going to send anything right now. I'm just going to click cancel, and DJ Unusual joined the show already. Now, one of the other interesting things with the YOLO is that, let me just go to directly. As you can see by the screen here, there's no way to pre-assign where your guest is going to go. You literally have to wait till they connect, and then you have to build it, which I've written to the YOLO team, and I said, listen, it would be really nice if I didn't have to go in here and say, let me do a split view with me and DJ and done, and set that up and adjust the border. I have to do this all once they've connected to create that multi-view. And I felt that it would probably be better if I could pre-build these things, and then in the invite guests area, let's do this over here. In the invite guests area, you could have a list of your pre-assigned 1, 2, and 3s, and then who they connect to. And you can with a little pop-up or something like that. This one's going to be DJ, this one's going to be someone else, this one's going to be someone else, and then you can assign them to 1, 2, or 3, whatever, because you can only have up to 5. That way you can have these things pre-built and all laid out, and you can carry them forward from show to show, but you don't have to try and build it. If you're self-hosting, you don't have to try and rebuild it every single show. I feel that would be a great way to do that. So I appreciate your patience. Let me bring you up on the show now. And you should be able to hear me, and I should be able to hear you now as well.
Cool. Can you hear me now?
I can definitely hear you now. Thank you for being a guest. Where are you located?
I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
I appreciate you calling in from Raleigh, North Carolina. And I like your green screen. It looks better than mine.
Thanks.
So are you a YOLO user as well?
Investigating right now. I primarily use NDI setup with Bird Dog PTZ cameras and vMix.
vMix is a great tool. I'm also a vMix user, and I find vMix is so very powerful, but it's also with great power comes great responsibility in that you got to build everything. And
Exactly.
I like the YoloBox for its simplicity. And this one tablet, I can do these remote guests. Like literally setting this up didn't take that long. And I'm able to have you on here. I'm able to have multiple guests on here. And as I'm mentioning that, let me throw that back up there. If somebody wants to join the show as a guest, here's a QR code. It's a really long URL, so you can point your phone at it and get the URL from that. And this is, I think, an amazing feature, and it's really unique in the market. There's not like another all-in-one that has this very simple way to just send out an email and bring someone else into your show that I've seen. Have you seen another product that does this?
Not this easy. Of course, you have the invitation in vMix with vMix Call. It's not quite this simple. I've used it and it has some complications with the users where they were kind of unaware of what browser they use and some browser conflicts. I know if you use like the native browser on some Android devices, then it would give you some conflict. You have to use a certain type of browser. And that kind of delayed the remote process for me in some of my experiments. But this was very easy.
Yes, and that's a key thing is that I think remote guests need to make sure they're using an up-to-date browser, and Chrome works, seems to be like the default choice for most things. And that I think is common across, whether it be using the YoloBox or vMix. But as a vMix user myself, vMix does have the ability to pre-create a distinct caller ID for each potential caller, and then you can arrange it. Okay, when I do this thing with, the DJ, he's going to be over here on the right, I'm going to be on the left, and that's all pre-made before the show. So when you cut to it, it's there. When they call in, you can have 5 different pre-made pictures and layouts and stuff like that. And when they call in, they populate all of them automatically. And that's what I would love to see happen on the YoloBox. But, as you are a vMix user, that familiarity and that convenience, just letting you know ahead of time is not going to be. You saw the process I had to go through to like build it. And I can see on the multi-view below me, let's go to the overhead side by side. On my overhead here, I've got another guest, Hassan, and he's called in. I can cut to him directly, but again, I have to come down here to, let's see, Hassan does not have audio in my audio mixer, so I'm not going to cut to him yet. Actually, he may have disconnected, and because I have no picture and no sound. So we'll wait for someone else to call in. But that's the same thing. It's like for each person that calls in, I need to adjust their audio after they've called in. I need to build the multi-view after they've called in. And it's not really much of a problem if you can have everybody call in before the show and line them all up and say, okay, I need you all to call in a half hour before the show. Let me build all these things. Let me adjust everybody's audio, make sure everybody's lighting's right and everything. And then when you start the show, it's all good. That can be done. That's one potential solution. Or if you're not self-producing, like I'm self-producing, so I'm in front of the camera and also handling the producing end. If you are behind the scenes and you've got a host, like if you were the host and I'm not here, I'm just running the show, I could have you call in, run the show, and then when somebody else called in, I could just add them behind the scenes and you would just be like, I'm just the host, I'm just talking to the camera, and here's my next person, and here they are, and you wouldn't be concerned with that. So it's not really that much of an issue except for self-hosted shows like the show I do.
Yeah, this is something exactly what you described. I deal with a lot of music and a lot of artists. If I prearrange the show, then it's not much of a problem. But there are a lot of situations where once I build an audience, someone may want to join the stream or whatever. And it would be great if I could easily add someone, take someone, kind of like a request line,
Absolutely,
and you couldn't
absolutely.
really do that with the what you're saying with the where you have to build it on the spot.
Right. And also, as some, we've both used vMix, and so we both really understand the convenience of I've built my show, I've got my 4 call-in numbers and things like that, however many, and then I close the show, and when I come back the next week or however often you do the show, they just call in on those numbers again and they just repopulate. You don't have to build anything. It just sort of like everything just happens time after time after time. Now the call in, yeah, that's a particular thing. Like I always find the challenge getting the person's contact information to get them a link in a way that their contact information isn't given out to everybody. Like, put your email in the chat. Oh, now 1,000 people see the email and they all start blah, 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 sending them all kinds of mail. That's one of the things. So how do you manage that?
I haven't done very much on the fly. Most of the things I've done has been prearranged and with a small amount of guests. So we are planning everything ahead of time. But I like that ability to be able to have people interact right away.
Absolutely. Like one potential way I could see, like I have a Facebook page. If I had my Facebook page open on a computer to the side, I can say, message me on the Facebook page. So it's a direct message, and then I can send them the link that I've emailed myself and everything. And then that way, that one person gets the link. I've got their, contact information, and it's not open to everyone else. So it's like only those people who are interested in being on the show can send me a direct message, via, whatever media. And then directly I can send them the link and sort of like, make sure, or you can have another producer, call-in shows. You've got a producer that makes sure that the person, they're not just trying to like, spam your show or something like that, who, make sure that they're going to say something interesting or something like that.
Always good to have a teammate. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I do thank you for being part of the show, and great conversing with you. And I'll look forward to seeing you on future shows.
Thank you.
So that's an example of creating a live conversation with someone using the YoloBox. Now, as you can see on the Ultra, I'm going to go back to the overhead side by side. You can see his connection is still here. Hassan's connection is still here. So I'm going to have to actually delete that source, and I'm going to delete Hassan's source. So it looks like also a bit of manual cleanup needs to happen as well. And I've got this split view. Since that split view is connected to him, I can't necessarily reuse it either. So if someone else wanted to call in, you could join the show as a guest right here. And as I said, I am doing this show completely on the YoloBox because we're talking about the built-in functionality of the YoloBox Ultra and the Extreme to leverage the new audio mixer to make remote guest functionality a reality. I'm showing you the process of bringing in a remote guest, showing you the different factors that you need to have set up before and once they've connected to make this a reality on the YoloBox Ultra. And if you are interested in getting a YoloBox Ultra or Extreme, I have a special right here. I've worked with Yolo to get a special, and they're helping support the channel. So if you like what I do here, buy it here, and that helps support the channel a little bit as well. So bit.ly 45NZSFU is the link for now, or you could just scan that with your mobile device. And one of the really nice things with this is that the mobile guest feature, because it's happening in Yolo's provided cloud, and you have the interface on the Ultra and the Extreme, is that it's portable. It's extremely portable. I mean, you have to remember that this is just a tablet. Like I've got it in this little carry case, this PK1 custom purple and yellow custom StreamTek colored case here. And, with that, I've got my camera coming in right here. I've got the second camera coming in just to show you the behind the scenes. This is how I'm actually switching it, is I'm doing the show within a show right here. I've got my program out so I can see it, or I could just work off of this screen. And then I've got my USB for the YOLO deck so that I can control my shots. So when I switch between the shots, I'm doing it over here. Yeah, I'm doing a bit of switching over here. Like when I build it for the remote guest, I'm building it here. But if I wanted to bring up that lower third guest, that's on a button. If I wanted to take that off, that's on a button. If I wanted to tell you, hey, if you're watching me on LinkedIn, or if you're watching me on Facebook, be sure to go to Stream Technology on YouTube, because that's where all the content resides. And if you are looking to reach out to me for consulting, you can go to streamtek.us. Yeah, I got a button just for that. And it should go away all by itself. That's one of the other things I really like about this, is the auto fade. When I was using Restream, that's one of the things that Restream doesn't do. Restream doesn't auto fade any titles. You have to remember to turn them off after you've turned them on. Let us go to the comments. Let's see who's here. Actually, I'm going to go to, I'm going to me. And so McGee Academy of Arts and Sciences says, good morning from Pico Riviera, California. Mark Matlet says, good morning from rural Wyoming. Mark also says he's got a YoloBox, a GoStream, an ATEM, and a Magewell. Man, you've got a whole cornucopia of tools at your disposal. That's a really great selection of tools. And I actually, I normally produce on my Magewell. I've got, as I said, I've got the ATEM doing the sub switch for the side-by-side, and we're doing this show on the YoloBox because the ATEM does not do remote guests. The Director Magewell tools do not do remote guests. The OBSBot Talent does not do remote guests. And I just did a review of the new Osee GoStream Duet 8, which on their website kind of says you can bring in remote guests, but you actually can't. You can bring in remote feeds via SRT, but you do not have the bi-directional. They don't see the program. They don't have mix minus of their own audio coming back to them. So it's not really a remote guest feature in as much as on their website. It does, or it used to say, like in the video, I show you the website and I make a point of saying, look, it says you can bring in remote guests. It's not like it is here on the Director Ultra and the Director, the YoloBox Ultra and the YoloBox Extreme. Mike Sabatini says, hello from LaSalle, Illinois. Teryan Powell says, yo from Southern Florida. Tony Wise says, hello from Prosper, Texas. Hey, you're not too far from me. You're right up Preston. And Mr. Robert Links is in Seal Beach, California. Thank you for being there. Talking about the pre-made guests. Yes, that is needed. It would make the remote guest feature so much more usable if we could pre-build and then just connect a caller to a pre-built, I called it avatar. You got avatar caller 1, caller 2, caller 3. Well, who's caller 1? Well, let's just say, Mr. Robert Links, I'm going to assign him to 1 so that when he comes in, wherever I've put 1 in a side-by-side, full screen, anything like that, or 3 across, whenever I've put it already before the show and saved it, when I assign Robert as number 1, he's always going to be, he's in all the number 1s that I've built in all the different multi-views, and that would be fantastic. J-Film says, hello from Atlantic City. Thank you for being there. And the big dealer in the house hollers at me as well. So thank you all for being there. And if you're late to watching the stream, I always love to know, I got to hit it twice. I don't know why it does that. And go. Where is everyone watching from? Because this is a worldwide audience. We typically have Europe, America, and abroad watching the show together. And then if you have questions about other streaming stuff, throw them into the comments. What streaming questions do you have? Because it doesn't have to be limited to the YoloBox. That's the topic of today's show, but I'll do my best to handle other things. I will warn you up front that I'm not AI. I'm a real person with 20 years of broadcast experience that I can pull on and try to provide you an answer. But if I don't know, I'm not going to pull a bunch of content from the web in 0.2 seconds and give you an answer that's half wrong. I'm just going to say, I don't know. And also, do you YoloBox? YoloBox has been out for quite some time now. Good 5, says 17, 18, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Good 7 years now, people have been able to YoloBox, use the YoloBox for live streaming production, and they've just continued to get better. If you haven't already been to my YouTube channel on StreamTek and seen the videos on the Ultra and the Extreme, I highly recommend them to understand the real capability these new, bigger tablets deliver. And if you are interested in getting one, feel free to use my referral code. Helps the channel out. I appreciate it. And if you want to be part of the show, feel free to point your mobile device at this QR code. Make sure you get it arranged horizontally when you start to go through the process and select your camera so that I can bring you onto the show, and then we can go through this process again, and I'll show everyone the process by which you bring on a remote guest. And part of that process, like I talked about before, is that you've got to set it up ahead of time. You have to go into, let's go into my multi, and which is side by side. Over here on the right, you can see this is my YOLO interface that I'm doing the show right here. And you want to go across the bottom, and there's this little icon at the bottom with 2 heads. That's the remote guests. So at the top, you can invite remote guests. You can type in a guest's email. You can type in multiple, up to 5 remote guests email, and you can send a link to yourself, which is what I did. I sent a link to my own email, to the email that you have your YOLO account with, and it'll come back to you, and then you'll have the link. And what I did was I took that and I built a QR code that I put on the screen to invite remote guests. So if you want to be part of the show, that's how you're going to do it. Go to, point your phone, point your mobile device at that QR code, and that will help bring you into the show. And I can go through that process again. Or you can just send an email directly, like if somebody's giving you, hey, send a link to this, and you can just type it in directly right at these enter a guest email things. And it says you can invite up to 5 people. After 5 people, if the 6th and 7th person will try to connect, is going to tell them it's full, it's not available, it's not possible at the moment, so they're not going to be able to get in. The room will hold up to 5 people. You may not have 5 people on, you may not have anybody else on the screen yet, but the room that YOLO is providing to facilitate this behind the scenes, that is only going to hold 5 people, no matter what. So once you send that, I'm going to cancel out of that. Then you also have to remember to mute the guest's audio by default. I personally do that over there. Let me go to the overhead. I personally mute the guest's audio by default so that when they join, like Al has joined from California, we don't hear Al because his audio is muted by default. Also, you have to remember to allow participants to join. That actually activates the room in the cloud that everybody connects to. If you don't turn that on before doing anything else, then when people try to connect, it's just not going to go anywhere. They're going to get to the web page and it's going to say can't connect, doesn't work. So now let me take this one off. You can see at the bottom here, let's go directly to the multi-view. I've got Al connected. Now we don't hear Al. Let's go over to the mixer, and you can see here's Al's audio at the bottom and it's off. So I'm going to turn on audio follows video so that when he comes on screen, we'll hear him. But it's still technically off. You can manually turn it on like that, but I'm going to turn it on audio follows video because I find that yields what we expect to hear. But then if I want to do a side-by-side with Al, I can bring him up directly like this, and there's Al, he can wave. And I can come back to me. But if I want to do a side-by-side, again, like I was showing, we have to build that. Now we can build a side-by-side like this, me and Al, and done, and then put a background behind it and say done. Or we could also say a split view like we did before, me and Al, done, and then we could be side by side like this as well. Now in the previews, don't worry about the quality of your remote guests. You'll see in this preview while I'm building this, he is still at low resolution. The way the system works is that once you actually bring them into program, the resolution of your remote guest increases. So we're going to say done here, and then I'm going to click that, and then boom, you see that now that quality has increased dramatically, and I should be able to hear you, right?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you again for being on the
There
show.
you go. No problem.
If you haven't already, Al and I have been, together on these shows a few times, and I appreciate you for calling in. Al teaches media technology. Give us a background.
Yeah, so I have fourth and fifth graders that I do video broadcasts with, and we run a video news program Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we send it out to our school community. Just the happenings of our school.
That's very, very cool. And we've talked before that you actually do use the YoloBox as part of your production in the classes.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have the Ultra. We use that. We build our own sets. We have AI sets actually, and so we do a bunch of different things with soundboards and cameras and lighting. You can kind of see a little bit behind me over here. But yeah.
Do you use the remote guest feature?
I've used it a couple times with the kids. It's a little tricky with them. It gets a little complicated, but we have used it a couple times in different classrooms. So it does work out pretty well. And the kids love using it because they get to use the microphones and things like that when they go into the classrooms.
So you actually use the remote guest feature as tied into your production, not to bring in someone from far away, but sort of like a roving reporter thing then.
Yeah, we've done that. We're looking at starting to bring in people from far away. I have a couple people that are lined up, hopefully for this year, that we'll be using. One's in Alabama, so we're going to try and bring her in, but we'll see how that goes. It's like I said, for fourth and fifth graders, it might be a little complicated, but we're going to give it a try.
And I think today, most any news you see, a lot of times there are people talking to remote guests. It's a very common thing to see on TV. So to be able to teach the kids, like, this is the behind the scenes, this is how it comes together, I think is pretty good.
Yeah, it is going to be really good once we get it going. But like I said, even the classrooms, when we do it in the classrooms into our program, it works out pretty well.
What challenges do you find when you try to bring in a remote guest?
Actually, the last time we spoke, I was trying to use a DJI mic on my phone, and I was having a huge problem with that. So I just unplugged it and just used the microphone that was on the phone, with the phone. But I think connecting those types of things onto the phone is probably the biggest issue that I've had, just doing the remotes from the classrooms.
Right. So that is a really good point too, because as we talked about it with the DJ who was on before, it's what browser is it being used, what device is being used, does that device recognize external microphones, and how well does it work, and things like that. So you could run into like several challenges if you try to like really augment and outfit your phone to be like, well, I want to put this directional shotgun microphone, or I want to have two lavalier, wireless lavs on there through this receiver. Will the browser be able to like properly access that content, and then will it remain split? So if somebody's watching in stereo, one person's over here, one person's over there.
Yep. So yeah, and that's been the biggest problem that I've run into, is just getting those other types of microphones hooked up to a phone.
And I think that also like leads to the audio mixer part. And I'll just bring you off for a second here so that I can show the audio mixer again. Is that in the audio mixer, you can see, you have the ability to adjust the level and turns on audio follows video, but there's no pan control. There's no summing to mono. So that if you have a remote news reporter coming in and they've got one microphone, plugged into one channel, and they're interviewing someone, well, that might only come in the left channel. And then when people watch it in stereo, because this is operating in stereo, when people listen to it, it's only going to be coming out of the left ear, or it's only going to be coming out of the left speaker of their laptop. And that could be a little wonky. So maybe also this says that, hey, YOLO needs to like just add a little bit more features to the audio mixer, including a button to like mix both those channels to mono.
Yeah, and not only that, but I really liked your suggestion about trying to get that set up ahead of time before, so we don't have to mess with those types of things as the people are coming in and setting up those cameras.
Right, because as a roving news reporter, that's not going to happen a half hour before, and they're not going to like walk around with the phone on connected the whole time. They're just going to connect when they're ready to do it. And so again, you can't build these things in the YoloBox the way it is today. And I should say, for the sake of the video, when people watch it a year from now, as of August of 2025, it would be nice if we could pre-build these scenes with an avatar, and then when we get the callers coming in, we can assign, okay, our remote guest is going to be on 1, and then the remote caller from Alabama is going to be on 2, and things like that. And then you can easily cut between, hey, we're done with her, now we're going to go to, this weather report, bringing in this meteorologist from, the National Weather Service is going to talk to us about, something that could be kind of cool.
Yeah, so hopefully Frank and his team are listening to this, because it would be really nice if they put that on there.
It would be really nice. And so one of the things I do want to show is, so I've got this multi-view with you, and then I can switch between this one and the other one that I built, which has us both side by side. I can go directly to you and then also directly to me. And so all of these are readily available. Once you build them, you could switch between, oh, I want to do this. Okay, now I want to do something with extra graphics, talking about like the program and things like that. And then, if you were going to, expound on a certain story, or if you had something to show, I can go directly to you. And because my microphone is set to manual, even though I'm not on the frame, my audio continues to be heard. And your audio is available anytime you're on the screen because of the audio follows video that I established at the beginning over there on the right. So Al's audio follows video, and if he's not in the frame, then we don't hear him. So that is a really quick look at that. Thank you again, Al. I appreciate you calling in and being part of the show and helping me demonstrate, this remote caller feature as part of the YoloBox.
All right, thanks, Anthony.
Thank you. And if you are interested in this remote caller feature, again, this is the YoloBox Ultra and the YoloBox Extreme are the only 2 units that have the automatic mix minus, that you can not hear yourself. So I can leave my headphones in and not hear myself, even though I've got it plugged in directly to I have my headphones right here plugged directly into the YoloBox, but because I have my audio right here and the headphone is turned off. And so what that means is I'm not hearing myself with a little bit of delay. And to explain that for people who don't, why would there be a delay? It's because all these video signals coming into the YoloBox have to be retimed. And to do that, it rips them apart. It recalibrates the top of the frame so that all the tops of the frames are exactly the same. That puts a little bit of a delay, 1 to 2 frames. It also automatically delays all of the audio to match with the delayed video. And in so doing, what it does is it delays the audio. And if you are listening to yourself, you're now hearing yourself with a bit of delay and an echo. And having done this for a couple years now, I can tell you, for me, I can't keep talking when I hear myself at the same level in my own ears. So I'm myself with that echo the whole time. So with the Ultra and the Extreme, they gave the ability to turn off hearing myself. I can hear everything else. I could hear Al when he was on because that was another channel. So I just made sure that was on audio follows video. And when he was on screen, then I could hear him. And I could hear anything else that's a video playback, countdown timer, background music. I would be able to hear everything else except for myself. And as I said, with the Pro and the Mini, you still have all of the remote guest features, the multi-views, and you have all of that. But you don't have the ability to not hear yourself if you're listening to the audio coming from the YoloBox itself. And as I mentioned, I've done a video for YOLO on this a couple years ago. If you have a phone as your camera, then what you can do is you can have your phone hooked up with a headphone output so that you are in essence a remote guest into your own show. But the phone is not going to have your own microphone coming back into your own ears. You're going to hear everything else from the show coming into it remotely, but you're not going to hear yourself bounce back into your own ears. And then you just talk to the phone as opposed to an HDMI camera. And that is the way you can get around the limited audio mixer that's available in the Pro and the Mini. Maybe they can update those and give those two units upgraded audio mixers. I think because those two devices were made several years ago with processor chips from several years ago, you get to the point where they've been adding so many features to those devices where you're kind of at the limit of what those processors can do, which is why you need to come out with a new unit with a new Snapdragon processor and a new more headroom to be able to do, in essence, like I said, multiple audio mixers. One for the headphones that I can turn things on and off, and another audio mixer for program. So what goes out the program and what goes into my ears are two completely separate things, and I can mix them independently. I can listen to HDMI 2 or not listen to HDMI 2. It's like two completely separate mixers side by side. They both get the same volume level that I adjust with these sliders, but whether I listen to it or not, which source goes into which feed, I can determine with these buttons along the side. And that's what makes the remote guest feature really, really usable on the Ultra and the Extreme. The other very interesting thing is with comments, the Ultra screen, I have like 8 centimeters here. I have about 2.5 inches to bring, for the comments for remote guests. With the Extreme, you have an 11-inch screen and it's formatted with like smaller text. So the amount of comments you can keep on the screen at one time with the Extreme is much greater. So that is a really handy feature. Again, when you're dealing with remote guests and remote guest comments and audience comments and things like that, the Extreme really does pay off. And one last time, if you are interested in getting an Ultra or an Extreme, I put together this promotional code, which if you do purchase through this code, you help support the channel. And if you choose not to, you want to get it somewhere else, that's fine too. No skin off my back. Just want to help you make sure that you get the device of your choice. And again, my name is Anthony Brokos. I'm the host here at StreamTek. You can find out more about all of the things I talk about on YouTube at Stream Technology. We just call it StreamTek for short. And if you're looking for consulting, you can reach out to me at streamtek.us. And again, I am running the whole show today on the YoloBox with the YOLO deck. You see me pushing these buttons for my titles and different camera feeds. And the YOLO deck is a great USB accessory for the Pro, the Ultra, and the Extreme. It has not yet been updated to work on the Mini, but hey, maybe it can. Although you probably only use it for titles, because if you're using the USB for the YOLO deck, then you've only got one HDMI input. But if you're doing remote guests, there you go, then you can do it. Let's see if there's any more comments that have come in. UTV says, can you bring in 2 guests on the YOLO and input them in vMix via NDI, then build a scene in vMix and easily add 2 callers at a time from the YOLO? No, there's no round tripping because there's only one NDI output from the YOLO. So you can't bring your guests into the YOLO using that cloud structure. If you did use vMix, you can actually use vMix for the callers and then output NDI from vMix into your YoloBox. Remember though, NDI on the YoloBox Pro is 1 channel, which is fine because you're just bringing in program, and it's a paid upgrade. YoloBox on the Ultra is 3 channels and it's a paid upgrade. And YoloBox on the extreme is upwards of 5 to 6 signals. It depends how much, depending on if you're bringing in full or HX. So there's a balance, if you bring in one full and two HX, it's a matrix. But it is included, NDI is included on the extreme. So again, can you bring two guests? I'm tapping, two guests into the YOLO and then move them over to vMix via NDI? No, but you could bring them into vMix directly and then move them over to the YOLO via NDI or HDMI out of vMix into the YOLO. And then you also get the ability to pre-build your side-by-sides and things like that. You cannot connect two YOLO boxes and both use them. Very bad and disappointing. It works if you stream alone. With several, it's very bad. I have actually used multiple YOLO boxes at the same time. In fact, you can have multiple streams going from multiple YOLO boxes, and then from YoloBox 2, you can actually take the stream from YoloBox 1 and bring it into 2, as long as they're on the same account. I don't know about streaming to YouTube at the same time, or to Facebook at the same time, or the same Facebook channel at the same time. If you're using RTMP, it should work because you're creating different stream keys for the different events. So I don't know what you mean by not being able to use two YOLO boxes at the same time. Audiophile Journey says, the fact you cannot build a real podcast scenario with two YOLO boxes is sad. I am forced to use the YOLO Live platform. There's so much delay introduced that a conversation is possible. Real podcast scenario with two YOLO boxes. I don't know why you would use two different YOLO boxes for a podcast scenario. I'm sort of confused as to what the round tripping is, because someone remotely can call directly into the one YOLO box. You don't need two YOLO boxes. So if I had 5 remote guests, I would still only have one YOLO box, and we could all be conversing at the same time. Now, that said, if you were to try and build this multi-view with that many people, let's go in here, do a side-by-side. If you were trying to build a multi-view, say, come in here, there's a 4x4, like I could do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't even have enough sources. You could do 4 sources, blah, 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 blah. And then you could kind of do someone in the middle on top of that, I guess. Or you could do a customized and do 1. Can I do this? Let's say 1, done. And then put that over here, and then add 2, done. And yes, I know it's taking all those things, and then say 3, done. And then put that over here, and then 4 is Al. 1, 2, 3, 4. I missed one. Done. And I know Al is not. It's just a blank frame right now. And then here we go with what did I do? This one. Done. So now you can have 5 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, well, it's only let me choose a source. It's not letting me choose a background here. Say done. I didn't choose it. Just select one. I don't want to select one. So I've got 5 different frames. So you can actually have 5 people on the screen at the same time. Let's see if you can have 6. I'll move that up. And can I select the same thing twice? I guess you can. So you can have 6 things on here. So you can have 5 remote guests, and then you can have your main HDMI camera locally coming in. I mean, I haven't really pushed this new custom multi-view to the maximum to see how many. Let's save this and put this up on the screen. So this is what I built, and you can see I'm actually full motion in a bunch of different frames. That's actually pretty cool. So you can have 6 different frames up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 remote guests. And then this center one is my local camera talking to you through HDMI, all on the screen at the same time. Now, it's going to take a bit of jiggering and building to make that 6 view. And like I says, the real problem is you can't build that multi-view with all the remote guests until all the remote guests are connected. Why is the host not answering to those problems as this is the topic? I don't know what problems you're talking about that I'm not answering to. 45 audio file, you cannot use two YOLO boxes and both use them. You're saying you cannot connect two YOLO boxes and both use them. I have done this repeatedly. I've had two YOLO boxes on this table, both on, both streaming, and both working. And actually, as I said, pull signals from the other YOLO boxes into each other. So I've answered the question. You went to, it has two NDI outs. No, it does not have two NDI outs. I believe the Ultra has, we'll look in here, look at side by side. Over here on HDMI out, NDI out, go back, NDI out is set to program. We can click on that and I can choose what I want it to be, but like I could send Al coming in as a caller. I can send Al out as NDI, but it's just the one output. So yes, you can kind of send Al out, but it doesn't allow you to create this multi-view or anything ahead of time, because then technically I can't even route Al to be my output until he's connected. So it doesn't really help anything. And then on the Extreme, I still feel, I don't have it right in front of me open and running. The Extreme NDI out is still, I think, just one NDI out. You do not have multiple ISO and NDI outputs on the Extreme either. On the table, but not locally apart, which is the point. Again, I don't understand the full scope of your question because you're just giving me pieces locally apart. I don't know what locally apart means. And if they're both on the same table or in different cities, it doesn't matter because they're both connecting to my YOLO account in the cloud, and then I can pull one signal over from the other into the other. You cannot send the output of one YOLO box into another, but I don't know why you would do that directly. It's not a, you know, you do have the ability to add SRT sources, and you do have the ability to add RTMP and RTSP sources for local streamed sources, like a YoloBox. Let's do side by side. You do have SRT, so technically you have SRT that you could utilize to send one device into the other. So since it comes down to the fact that I don't think you can send SRT out. I don't think they stream via SRT that way. Your streaming encoding settings are H.264 or H.265, but it doesn't give you the ability to select SRT as a streaming source. But as I mentioned, if you were to add a video source here, where it comes down here and it says live stream, that live stream source right over there, that live stream source is any other YoloBox on your account, no matter if it's in the same room or another city. If it's streaming through your account, you touch that button and it will be available to you in this YoloBox as a source. But no, they're not designed to connect two different studios together at the same time. That's not, these are designed to, like, I'm producing a show and I'm sending it to the cloud. So the ability to go grab somebody else's stream and pull it into my stream, I feel is pretty cool. You know, if you were doing a New Year's Day show and I'm producing it here in Texas and I want to pull in a stream from New York, they're using a YoloBox in New York, they're using a YoloBox in Miami, they're using a YoloBox in Chicago, and they're using a YoloBox in Las Vegas. And all of them are doing a stream. Now, if we coordinate via phone or comms or something like that, I can then say, okay, I'm going to come to you, New York, in 30 seconds. And then I go and I get that stream and I say, go get that live stream from New York, because I will see all 5 other streams. When I click on that, I would click on that, and then here you would see no other live stream is available under my account. If there is an active stream from an Ultra Pro or Mini, those will appear in that screen, and then I can pull them into this YoloBox. And that I can then go to New York, I can then go to Miami, I can go to Chicago, each one in turn, pull them into my YoloBox. They're streaming, I'm streaming, we're both streaming at the same time, and I'm able to pull their stream into my show. So if you feel I haven't answered the question, I think a different question would be in order, because I feel I've answered it. Let's look at the comments. How long is the warranty on those products? Usually through resellers, you've got a 30-day, in the US, you've got a 30-day money back, you know. And then I believe they, in general, have a 1-year warranty from the manufacturer. You know, if there's an issue with something is just simply not working, you can contact their support. Then do a warranty return. Audiophile says, RTMP SRT has the same issue. Importing the live stream does not help. You need to always have 2 streams on both YOLO boxes, incoming remote and outgoing to the other box. But as soon as you introduce YOLO Live, the delay because of the China server makes live conversation impossible. I don't know exactly. I'm not part of YOLO. I don't know where the actual hosting servers are, but as you saw in both of the lives that I just did through the live remote guest feature, conversations are indeed possible. There's the conversation, we're able to talk over top of each other. We're able to like have a live conversation without much of a delay. And if the server is in China, you saw the delay. The delay was definitely very, very usable. So I hope this helps you understand how you can utilize the remote guest feature in the YOLO boxes, the Pro, the Mini, the Ultra, and the Extreme. The Ultra and the Extreme have the added advantage that you have the new audio mixer, which allows you to keep your headphones in, hear everything else but yourself, basically remove your own voice from what you hear in your headphones. And the Pro and the Mini, you would need to be a remote guest into your own show, but it is doable. The remote guest feature allows you to create the remote guest invitation on the device itself. You don't need a computer. You can send out email invitations. The thing you can't do is like create like a little QR code like I did to put it on the screen. Unfortunately, that's not possible. What I did was I emailed it to myself, and then I said, you know, I created this little QR code, and I built that outside and then brought it in as a graphic. You cannot create that as part of the show. And the downside right now, as of August 2025, is that you can't pre-build scenes with, you know, avatars, just pictures of people. You can't pre-build them or assign guests to pre-populated positions in multi-views. That's not currently possible. And I feel if that were to come about in a future update, that would make the already really powerful and useful remote guest feature in the Ultra and the Extreme even more powerful, because then every time you duplicate a show and you do the next one, and you do the next one, you do the next one, it's all done. It's all laid out. And especially if you're doing a self-hosted show like I do, then you don't have to build anything with the remote guests connect. You just assign, you know, Al is number 2, done. And then he's in all the number 2s that I've built. And I can then circle through. I talk to the next person. I assign the DJ to number 2. I assign Mark. Mark goes to number 2. So I have all these pre-built scenes with number 2, and I assign each guest in turn, you know, especially if it's a one-on-one conversation. I just assign them all to number 2, and I can keep using all these different multi-views with ease. So thank you again for being here. My name is Anthony Brogus. I am the host here at StreamTek. And if you want to, if you're watching on LinkedIn, if you're watching on Facebook, be sure to go to YouTube, to the Stream Technology page, which is where all the videos are, all the lives, all of the producer interviews, studio tours, gear reviews, and demos. All of that content is on the YouTube channel. And if you're looking for consulting, especially if you're trying to connect two studios together, you can reach out to me on the contact page at streamtek.us. So I thank you all for being here, and till next time, what do? I go here and I say, thanks for watching.